In quiet neighborhoods, power goes wrong.
The ambulance siren screamed louder than my wife. Red lights flashed across our front gate, bouncing off metal bars that should have opened automatically but didn't. Because someone had locked them. "Sir, we need access now," the paramedic shouted through the window. Inside the ambulance, my wife clutched my hand, her face twisted in pain, her voice barely steady. "I can't. I think the baby's coming." And standing 10 feet away, arms crossed, completely calm, was the HOA president. That morning had started with excitement. We were finally ready. Hospital bag packed. Car seat installed. Phone charged. My wife smiled at me through nervous breaths. "Today's the day," she said. Then her smile vanished. Pain hit her like a wave. Within minutes, contractions were too close together. Too strong. I didn't hesitate. I called 911. The ambulance arrived fast. Too fast for the HOA president, apparently. As the paramedics loaded my wife inside, one of them looked at me sharply. "She's progressing quickly," he said. "We need to move." I jumped into the front seat. The engine started. And then, nothing. The gate ahead stayed shut. I jumped out and ran to the control panel. Locked. Manual override disabled. Then I heard the voice. "You need HOA authorization to open that gate." I turned. She stood there in pressed clothes, clipboard in hand, sunglasses on, like this was a routine inspection. "My wife is in labor," I said. "Open the gate." She didn't move. "You violated community rules," she replied. "No emergency vehicles are allowed without prior approval." The paramedic stepped out. "Ma'am, this is a medical emergency." She shrugged. "Not my problem." My wife screamed. Not a cry. A scream. The kind that makes your chest tighten with fear. The medic yelled, "Sir, we're losing time." I ran back to the gate. "Open it," I shouted. She finally looked annoyed. "Lower your voice," she said. "There are residents watching." She wasn't confused. She wasn't scared. She was enjoying control. I looked around. Neighbors stood on porches. Phones were out. Recording. And still, she didn't move. "If something happens to my wife or my baby," I said, forcing calm into my voice, "this will be on you." She smirked. "You people always exaggerate." Inside the ambulance, the monitor alarm sounded. The medic shouted, "We need to go now." Another HOA board member arrived running. "What's going on?" "She won't open the gate," I yelled. He looked at my wife. Looked at the ambulance. Then at her. "Open it," he said. She hesitated. Then slowly pressed the button. The gate creaked open. Seconds later, the ambulance shot forward. But the damage was already done. She thought this was over. She thought she'd won. She didn't know the ambulance cameras were recording. She didn't know every neighbor's phone caught her standing there. And she definitely didn't know this delay would change everything. The ambulance tore down the road, siren screaming again, but the sound felt different now. Hollow. Late. Inside, the medic's voice was calm, but his eyes weren't. "We lost time back there," he said, adjusting the monitor. "We're going to do everything we can." My wife squeezed my hand so hard my fingers went numb. "I'm scared," she whispered. I leaned close. "I'm here. We're almost there." But the truth sat heavy in my chest. We should have already been there. The ambulance slid into the ER bay. Doors flew open. A team rushed in, nurses, a doctor, a resident, moving with practiced urgency. "What happened?" the OB asked as they rolled my wife down the hall. "Delay at the gate," the paramedic replied. Access was blocked. The doctor's head snapped up. Blocked how? HOA gate. Wouldn't open. The doctor didn't say anything else. But his jaw tightened. They wheeled my wife into a delivery room. I was stopped at the door for a moment. A nurse looked at me gently. We'll get you in as soon as we can. From inside, I heard alarms. Quick footsteps. Low, urgent voices. Minutes passed like hours. I paced. I prayed. I replayed the scene at the gate again and again, her crossed arms, the smirk, the way she said, "Not my problem." Finally, the OB stepped out. "We're stabilizing her," he said. "But I need to ask, how long was the delay?" "About 6 or 7 minutes," I answered. "Maybe more." He exhaled slowly. "In labor, minutes matter," he said. "Especially with complications." I swallowed. "Is the baby?" "We're watching closely," he said. "That's all I can say right now." A hospital administrator appeared next, clipboard in hand. "Sir, we need a statement," she said. "Any delay involving emergency access has to be documented." I nodded. "I'll tell you everything." She listened without interrupting as I described the gate, the refusal, the witnesses. When I finished, she said quietly, "Do you know who blocked the ambulance?" "Yes." "Good," she replied. "Because we already have the footage. Hospitals document everything. Ambulance dash cams. ER bay cameras. Audio logs. And the paramedic? He'd kept his body cam running. By the time my wife was stabilized, the hospital had already flagged the incident. Risk management. Legal. Administration. This wasn't just a complaint anymore. It was an investigation. While I sat beside my wife's bed, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Neighbors. Friends. Numbers I didn't recognize. One message stood out. "The video is everywhere." I clicked the link. There she was. Standing in front of the gate. Ambulance behind her. Siren wailing. And her voice clear as day. "You need authorization." The comments were exploding. People weren't debating. They were furious. By morning, the HOA board was in damage control mode. Emails went out claiming miscommunication. A statement blamed a technical malfunction. They said the president was misunderstood. But then more videos surfaced. Different angles. Different neighbors. Same story. Her standing still. My wife screaming inside the ambulance. 2 officers arrived at the hospital. Professional. Calm. "Sir," one said, "we need to ask you some questions about the delay." I told them everything again. When I finished, the officer nodded. "Blocking an ambulance is serious," he said. "Especially during active labor." "Is it a crime?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "It can be." Later that day, I stepped into the hallway to get coffee. She was there. The HOA president. No clipboard now. No sunglasses. Just tight lips and shaking hands. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said quickly. "You know how rules are." I stared at her. "My wife and child aren't rules," I said. She tried to smile. "We can handle this internally." Before I could respond, a nurse stepped between us. "Sir," she said to me, then turned to the HOA president. "You need to leave." Security escorted her out. That evening, the administrator returned. "We're filing a formal report," she said. "With the city. With emergency services. And with the district." I nodded. "Thank you." She paused. "Your wife and baby are lucky." Lucky. I thought of those lost minutes. The next morning, the baby was born. Small. Quiet. Fighting. I held that tiny hand and felt something settle inside me. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about accountability. And it was just getting started. The courtroom didn't feel like a room. It felt like a reckoning. Every bench was filled. Every camera was pointed forward. Every whisper carried one name. Hers. The HOA president sat at the defense table, hands folded so tightly her knuckles were white. No clipboard. No sunglasses. No authority. Just consequences. The prosecutor didn't waste time. 6 minutes, he said, stepping forward. That is how long an ambulance was prevented from performing its duty. He turned toward the jury. 6 minutes in labor can mean life or death. Behind him, the screen lit up. The video again. The gate. The siren. Her voice. You need authorization. The jurors didn't blink. Her lawyer tried to frame it as confusion. She believed she was following protocol, he argued. She did not understand the urgency. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. Then why, he asked calmly. Did she say, not my problem? The courtroom went still. That sentence ended the defense. The OB spoke next. If they'd arrived any later, he testified, we could have lost both patients. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't need to. The facts were enough. I hadn't planned to cry. But when I stood, I didn't see the jury. I saw my wife gripping the stretcher. I saw the gate. I heard the siren. My family followed every rule, I said quietly. We paid every fee. We respected every neighbor. I looked at her. But rules don't matter when someone's life is on the line. My voice didn't shake. But my heart did. The jury was gone for only 1 hour. When they returned, no one breathed. The foreman stood. On the charge of obstruction of emergency services. Guilty. On the charge of reckless endangerment. Guilty. On the charge of abuse of authority. Guilty. She closed her eyes. Not in regret. In defeat. The judge spoke slowly. HOA rules exist to maintain order, he said. Not to override human decency. He sentenced her to jail time, permanent removal from the HOA board, civil liability for damages, mandatory community service with emergency responders. This court finds your actions inexcusable, he concluded. The HOA didn't survive the scandal. Residents demanded reform. The gates were reprogrammed for emergency override. A city ordinance was passed. No private authority may delay emergency services. Ever. And her name became a warning. My wife recovered. Our baby grew stronger every day. Months later, we stood at the gate again. This time, it opened instantly. No delay. No permission. No clipboard. Just a clear path. My wife squeezed my hand. Funny, she said softly. She wanted control so badly. I nodded. She got remembered instead. Power without empathy is dangerous. But power with accountability? That's justice.